Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mamas, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients, and Nap Time. I'm Sarah Marie, and today I really want to talk to you about the reality of there never being a perfect season. Not for starting your business, not for launching that thing, not for finally going after what you want. There is no perfect season where everything aligns and conditions are ideal and you have all the time and energy and support that you need. That season just doesn't exist. And I know this because I've built my entire business in the in-between moments around family, around paid employment, around chaos and transitions and seasons that were anything but perfect. And right now, I'm in a season of expansion and growth in my business, but I'm also in a season of reduced capacity. My toddler is dropping his naps. I have 3 kids in different transitions, and my work time just got cut in half. This is not a perfect season by any means, but it's the season that I have. And I can either wait for some mythical future season where everything is easier, or I can build with what I've got right now. So today I'm talking about why waiting for the perfect season is actually costing you, what you're actually waiting for, and how to reframe your thinking so that you can build now in this moment, in whatever imperfect season that you're actually in. There are many types of seasons we convince ourselves we need to be in before we can start. Maybe it's, I'll start when the baby sleeps through the night. Maybe it's, I'll launch when the kids are finally in school. Or I'll go full time when they're older and more independent. Or I'll start my business when life finally calms down. Or even, I'll do the big thing when I have more time, more energy, more support, and more certainty. We tell ourselves these stories, and they honestly sound reasonable. They sound logical. So of course it makes sense to wait for better conditions, right? Except here's what actually happens. Yes, the baby sleeps through the night, but now they're a toddler having tantrums. Yes, the kids go to school, but now there's homework battles and friendship dramas and after-school events. Yes, they get older, but now they need you emotionally in ways that you didn't anticipate. Because teenagers don't need less of you. They just need you differently. Life doesn't calm down. It just morphs and changes shape. So you don't suddenly have more time. You just have different time constraints. You don't magically have more energy. You're just managing different demands. Every season has its challenges, and every season has its constraints. So there's no season where everything is perfect and easy and aligned. So if you're waiting for that season, you're going to be waiting forever. And maybe that's exactly what's keeping you stuck. I want to move next to talking about what waiting is actually costing you. Firstly, there's the opportunity cost, because every year you wait is a year that you're not building. It's a year that you're not learning. It's a year that you're not establishing yourself or creating work you're proud of or serving the people who need you. If you're waiting 5 years for the right season, that's 5 years of potential growth you've lost, 5 years of experience, 5 years of building a reputation, 5 years of building a client base and a body of work, and you can't get those years back. Secondly, there's the financial cost, because if you're waiting to start earning, you're losing income. If you're waiting to raise your prices, you're under-earning. And if you're waiting to launch that offer, you're potentially leaving money on the table. And that compounds. The money you're not earning now is money you can't invest, you can't save, and you can't use to create more ease in your life. Third, there's the confidence cost. Because when you keep waiting, you reinforce the belief that you're just not ready yet, that you need perfect conditions before you're capable, and that you can't handle building something in the mess of real life. But the longer that you wait, the harder it becomes to start. because now you've built up this idea of what it needs to be and how prepared you need to feel, or how perfect those conditions need to be before you can start. And what if they never happen? Fourth is the resentment cost. When you're constantly putting your dreams on hold for someday soon, you start resenting the very things you're prioritizing instead. You resent your kids for needing you. You resent your circumstances for not being ideal. And often we end up resenting ourselves for just not doing it anyway. And that resentment poisons everything. And finally, I want to touch on the regret cost, because at some point you'll look back and realize you spent years waiting for a season that just never came, and you'll never get that time back. So waiting isn't just putting something on pause for a little bit. It's actively costing you in not only opportunity, but in money, confidence, joy, and time that you'll never get back. But I also want to flip this, because every season has constraints, yes, but every season also has advantages. And the key is learning to work with both. When you've just had a baby, you've probably got minimal sleep and no time. But you also have intense motivation to build something flexible. You're willing to work in 20-minute chunks. You're creative with your time in ways you never were before having a baby. That breeds resourcefulness. Then, when your kids become toddlers, you have chaos and unpredictability, but you also have nap times, at least for a while. You have pockets of focus that force you to be efficient. You learn to prioritize ruthlessly because you have no choice. Then, when your kids are in school, yes, you may have more structured time, but you also have homework, extracurriculars, and friendship dramas. The time you gain in school hours, you lose in emotional support and logistics. But you also understand your capacity better. You know how to build around school schedules, and you're much more strategic. And then, when your kids are teenagers, you have different demands. They need you emotionally in intense ways, but they're also more independent physically. You're no longer managing naps and nappies. You can have conversations, and they're watching you build something, and they're learning from your example. Every season gives you something, even if it is constraining you in other ways. And you're different in every season too. The business you can build as a new mum is different from the business you will build with school-aged kids. Not better or worse, but definitely different. Maybe when your kids are little, you build something small and focused, something you can manage in those fragments of time. And then when they're in school, you expand, you add more, you get a little bit more visible. And then when they become teenagers, perhaps it's time to pivot. You do something completely different because you are a different person now. Your business gets to evolve with your seasons. You don't have to build the final version of it right now. You just have to build the version that fits this season. So instead of waiting for the perfect season, let me ask you, what advantage does this season give you? And what can you build with what you've got right now? Alrighty, I want us to pause here for a moment and do some reframing work, because the stories we tell ourselves about our seasons are so often what is actually keeping us stuck. So here's how this works. Your brain is constantly creating meaning from your circumstances. It's taking the facts, such as I have a toddler, I have limited time, and it's turning them into stories, such as I can't build a business right now. But the story is not the same as the fact. The story is your interpretation, and interpretations can be changed. So let's take a moment and reframe some of the common stories. Feel free to repeat these after me if they feel aligned. Old story. I don't have enough time. The reframe. I have different time than I used to. What can I build in the time I actually have? Notice that subtle shift? You're not denying the constraint. You're acknowledging it and asking a better question. Here's another one. Old story. I'll start when life calms down. And the reframe. Life won't calm down. It will just change. What can I start building now that evolves with me? In this one, you're releasing the myth that calm is coming and accepting that you can build in the current chaos. Old story. I can't do this properly right now. And reframe. I can't do the big version of this right now. What's the version that I can do? Here, you're not lowering standards. You're being realistic about capacity and you're building anyway. Here's another one. Old story. Everyone else has more support or time or energy than me. And the reframe. I don't know what anyone else's actual reality is. What can I build with my actual circumstances? With this one, you're stopping the comparison and you're focusing on your own reality. And let's do one more. Old story. I need to wait until I feel ready. And the reframe. I will feel ready after I start and not before. What's one small step I can take right now? With this one, you're acknowledging that readiness comes from action, not from waiting. These reframes aren't about toxic positivity, though. They're not about pretending constraints don't exist. They're about changing the question that you're asking yourself so you can find a way forward instead of staying stuck. Because the story you tell yourself about your season determines whether you build or wait. And you get to choose that story. I really, though, want to acknowledge that some seasons are genuinely harder than others. I'm not here to gloss over that or pretend it doesn't exist. Newborn season is brutal. That 4th trimester is survival mode. And if you're in that season, you're not building a business empire. You're just keeping yourself and a tiny human alive. That is enough. Seasons of illness, grief, major life upheaval, those require different energy. You might not be in a season to build with them. You might be in a season just to maintain or even to pause entirely. And that is so valid. There is a difference between waiting for perfect and honouring a genuinely difficult season. But I want you to remember that even in hard seasons, you can often do something small. Maybe not the big thing or the full version, but there's always something. Maybe you can't launch your business, but you can start thinking about it, researching it, planning it. Maybe you can't take on clients, but you can stay connected to your community. Maybe you can't create new offers, but you can maintain what you already have. The question isn't, can I do everything I want to do right now? The question is, what's the version I can do in this season? And sometimes the answer is not the big thing, but something small. And small things compound. The business I have now was built in tiny increments across years of imperfect seasons. I didn't wait for perfect. I built with what I had, when I had it. So honour those hard seasons and lower your expectations when you need to. But don't assume that hard means impossible. Sometimes hard just means small and slow. And small and slow still gets you somewhere. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. This season, this imperfect, chaotic, constrained, busy season you're in right now, this is the only season you have. You don't have the season you had 5 years ago. You don't have the season you'll have in 5 years from now. You have this one right here and right now. And you can either spend it waiting for someday, or you can spend it building something, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't look like what you thought it would. As I've mentioned, I'm in a season of reduced capacity right now, partly by choice, partly by circumstances. My toddler's nap is gone, my work time is limited, and my business is expanding and growing while my available hours are shrinking. This is not the season I would have chosen, but it is the season I have. So I'm continuing to build anyway. Slower, smaller, and more strategically, but I'm still building. Because as I mentioned, there is no perfect season. There is only this season. And you get to choose what you do with it. You can wait for perfect and stay stuck forever. Or you can work with what you've got and build something anyway. Your business doesn't have to be perfect, and your circumstances don't have to be ideal. And you really do not have to have it all figured out yet. You just have to start in whatever small way this season allows. So, if this episode made you realize you've been waiting for perfect, I want you to send me a DM at BalancedBizMama on Instagram and tell me, what are you going to start building in this imperfect season? And if you're looking for support building a business that evolves with your seasons instead of waiting for the perfect one, I invite you to come join us in the Balanced Biz Mama Circle. We're a group of mums all figuring out how to build our businesses in the mess of real life. And remember, Mama, there is no perfect season. Every season has constraints and advantages, and the cost of waiting is likely to be far too high. So reframe the story you're telling yourself. Stop waiting for calm that's never coming, and stop comparing your season to someone else's. And finally, stop believing that you need perfect conditions to even start. I want you to build with what you have, in the time that you have, in whatever small way this season allows you to. Because this season is the only one that you have, and it's enough. So until next time, honor your season, start building anyway, and remember, you've got this. Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.